Hi and welcome to this week's video. In this video, more cowl work, but we're starting to get something that's looking more like a cowl, well, upper cowl anyway. So chunk more work to do going forward, but hope you enjoy what I get up to this time round. Okay, so where are we at the moment? So far I've just got that sort of cut out. That's yet to be opened out fully to about that sort of gap all the way around the prop drive, so it'll be an inch all the way around from the prop drive when we get the lower and upper cowl sorted out. I've trimmed this back edge. It needs to have a final bit of sanding just to make sure that it's a really perfect line fit, but I'll start by mounting the top in position with a gripper pin, and we'll work our way around to make sure that's all as it should be. Overall it's not too bad. I cut the rear section off, this section, you can sort of see it's got wavy and that, with a Dremel tool and one of the little sanding, well, grinding discs, one of these sort of fiberized discs like that, running at a fairly low speed because you want it to actually do the cutting rather than getting too much heat involved, because the resin can start binding up on them if you have to go too fast. Again, wear eye protection and a mask when you're doing it, and if possible do it outside somewhere, so it's going to cause aggravation. Right, going on, I want to get these sort of mounting screw points set up. I'm going to get that, keeping this level, using this piece of wood at the top here to do that. I'm just going to sand this a bit flat, and then once I've done that, I'm going to mark the height, so I have a constant height here, and for that little bit of operation I'm going to lift the back end of the aircraft and make sure the whole thing is level. Okay, all I've done is I marked the centre line point to my little metal brackets which I had going in here, and then I've gone half an inch forward and drilled through 4mm 532 for these grippers going across here. So I've got 5 gripper pins down here because it's going into this engine mounting section onto the edge. I've drilled through, but I've only put a smaller hole, guide hole, and put a self tap area in for the time being. Later that'll have a brass insert for the screws to go into. Now they've got quite a nice, relatively clean line going across the top. Very slight curve in the cowl going down, so it sort of follows the line. I don't know if you can sort of see on camera, but you know the top deck curves very slightly down. It continues that sort of that arc going down to the front there, and everything stays central on the front here, so things are about right. I've put a level, currently it's just sitting here on the stringer, but if I put it onto the longeron you can sort of see that it's central there. I've gone across the aircraft and the bubbles central that way, so the aircraft's now level in both roll and pitch. A little bit of tidying around here because I've let it get a bit messy doing the fiberglass work. I really dislike it. I need to just get things tied up just a little bit. I'll make up a piece of wood to go with a pencil on it, which I can put a couple of squares to, and we'll just can go around here, and that'll create the height for the cut off to make this less wavy than it is as it came from Fisher. I have done a little bit of sanding here just to make sure everything was okay. I took next to nothing off the fiberglass I put here. You can still see sort of the resin line from where the resin was sitting on the plastic. There's a slight dip, so what I'll do later on, I'll just chamfer this a little bit, and I'll use some filling resin system called P40, Isopon P40 in the UK. I'll use that for these holes, and just to put a bit of a structural build up here. A whole lot, well, not a whole lot, but this will get skimmed once all that lot's been sanded to shape to make a nice fair line. But you know, I've got bits like this sort of divot here where there's a void in the fiberglass, and my fiberglass goes past that and the cloth goes past that. Again, I've got a similar sort of thing here. We've got a bit of a, so hence using the constructional resin. This appears to be a form of gel, or it could be a primer coat. It doesn't seem to want to sand particularly. And then underneath it we've got this, which again could be a gel, but I honestly haven't got a clue what has been going on there because it's all over the place. We'll sort it all out to make this a structurally sound and reasonable, I think, from what we've got. And if it all really does come out as being something terrible, I'll cut it about a little bit, polish it, and use it as a plug to make a mould, and then I'll make up my own. It may go that way anyway. At the moment, it's we'll see what comes out of life. Now, the front end here is definitely more vertical since I put that carbon ring in and clamped it. Anyway, enough waffling. Onward and upwards. Let's get cracking. I've marked the line going around. You can still see it's quite close there, all the way around, a bit deeper at the front end, and right the way around. Whoops, sorry. Right the way around the side to this side here. And to do that, I use this Heath Robinson piece of apparatus. So I've got a V block clamping this piece of wood, so that's acting as a square, and then a clamp holding a pencil at the right height, and quite literally put that onto the side and slide it around. High tech, Heath Robinson at its best. I don't know how well this is showing up, but this is the outline. I cut a circle out here. I'm not going to cut it all the way. I'm going to leave a couple of tags in position for access through to the dipstick. Little dipstick there. So that's sort of my idea of access point, enough for me to get my hand in. To be able to get to that, properly locate it and pull it out. So I can just squeeze my hand through that hole and reach down to get it. I can't go any lower really, because they'll have the cowl joint between the upper and lower cowl. If I go through from the top, you're reaching down a long way in to get to it. And we've got the cylinders just about here, so you got the cylinder head out here, so it's I think that's probably the best place. I'm not planning to have the oil filler sort of accessible with a quick cap. I'm just going to have that as a sort of like a daily oil check or pre-flight check. Right, I've done the basic trim that just needs sanding dead straight along the bottom edges. I've cut in here with a Dremel and a cutting disc, one like that. So it's a bit sort of like a 50p piece. It's not perfectly round, but that's minor. I've left tags in, and the idea is that once we've laid up everything on the inside, I'll just be able to cut those tags and pop this off, and it'll leave a nice lip inside, which I'll just trim back to that sort of shape on the inside, and I'll smooth the circle on the cover. Okay, here we have the inside. What I've done is I've put 2 layers of masking tape on, and then a little layer of packing tape, which should just conform. I'm going to lay up over the whole thing, but I'll cut out in the middle once it's all cured. I've sanded around the edge, so we should have a good bond, and I'll just do a quick wet layup of 3 layers of 60 gram glass twill cloth, so that should make quite a nice thin-ish layer, but structurally sound. I've sanded back this edge here quite a chunk to thin it down to allow for the fact I'm going to be putting material back into there. Okay, so there's the cloth. You can sort of see the dotted line. I just did that so you could see where it went. And I've got 2 pieces of wood lollipop sticks in there. They, in theory, should bond to this cloth. The idea is I'll put I can counterbore into the wood to take the retaining washer for the fastener, and it makes it just a little bit stiffer for the fitment of the actual retainer, but it'll be trimmed to a funny shape anyway as it goes around to make the aperture when I do it. But that's the idea behind those little pieces of wood. I've drilled a really small hole in just the centre there, so I can use that as a compass swing once I've got this off on the inner skin section. And I've drilled a hole there and there in the position where the centre of the fastener will go through, so I've got a datum. And you might note I've marked here what's top, so when I get this off I know which way up it goes. Okay, I've screwed the cover back into place. You might be able to see around the edge I've put some clear tape. All I'm going to do now is I'm going to mix up some micro balloon, smear that into the joint. I'll make it very slightly proud, and then I can, once that's cured, I can undo the screws here, take the tape off and screw this cover back into position, and I'll be able to send the micro balloon down to the right profile, the right height, and then I can just clean up just finish off cleaning up the edge of this panel, which will give me a slight clearance all the way around for when we paint it. Okay, the whole thing looks a bit of a mess at the moment. I've used the P40 Isopon P40 filler, which has got fibres in it for all the through holes going through the cowl. All I do is I countersunk both sides so there's an angle, and I smear it on the inside to come through to the outside, and then I smear on the outside, spread it out, and that way you've got like a bobbin of resin, fibred resin, that's bonded into the clean fiberglass that's been cut. I've done the micro balloon at the front there, and I've done it into all the blind holes, and I've done it a little bit proud so when it gets sanded it'll just sand back. The micro will sand back, really easy, because it's got quite a high bulking agent to resin content, so it should be relatively easy. It's stronger than normal resin as far as breakage and wear, so it's slightly harder to sand than that, but it'll still sand easily enough for our purposes here. So let all this lot cure off. I'm going to then put the cowl I'll clean up the front end for the dipstick and that, and then I'll put the cowl onto the aircraft and fill all this area here with the P40 where I need sort of a bit of structure, after I've just sanded away some of the paint and things. I've done that most of the area. It's clear of paint, and this is like a grey gel coat on top of, well, it seems quite a mixture. I don't know quite what's been going on. So it'll have an area going forward to sort of band about that wide, which will have the P40 with it in place on the aircraft. It'll be set in that shape a little bit more as it cures, and just make sure that everything is as it will be on the aircraft. I'll sand all that down, and then that area will then have the P38 body filler put on it at some stage in the future. But first off, as soon as it sort of cures, we'll be working this area. I'll just sand around here to get it off the top of the tape. That will help me remove this. Here we have the I've just cut out, I just used the compass and marked out 2 circles. This section here will need to be dressed back as required once I've actually got the receptacle in for the faster. So I'm just going to put the cover on with the 2 screws and sand this area so it's all flush, ready to go. But yeah, just chopped out. Great. Well, there we have it. Gap's a little bit tight still around these edges here and here by the fasters, but what I've done is I've sanded it flat, and I've just put a little guide coat of primer over the top, just so we can sort of see how things are. The whole thing will need to be wet sanded down with 400 and 600 grit, really, well 400 grit at least, and primed, and then reflatted again, just to, you know, to get rid of this. Some minor blemishes here and there, which like there, and things like that, which will need to be sorted out. So that's where I'm at with this one so far, and I've decided I will actually do a cutout for the oil fill, but I'll do that next week, and we'll crack on. So that's it for this week. Hopefully you enjoyed what I've done so far, and it's given you some ideas. And you can see there's a little hole in the middle there. That's something else that's going to be dealt with again in a future video, to deal with the retaining of the cover, so it won't fall off and drop on the floor and things like that. So there we go. Keep well, and I'll catch you next time. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the thumbs up. You can subscribe or even hit the little bell notification for future videos. Any comments would be appreciated, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Remember, go fly and feel the sky.